Real quick, I'd like to give a massive shout out to all the homies on Patreon who chose to support the cult and help keep the lights on. If you want more information on how to support the channel and get your name up here at these fucking chads, check out the video description below. All right. As you all have now realized, Sunwell is as difficult as many expected. I've had many clears of Sunwell during the past few years, starting from private servers to PTR to now live servers, and this is definitely some of the most difficult content I've seen. I raid on many characters, but out of all of them, the two main ones are both warlocks. Shocker. My main is an alliance in the guild fusion, while my other is a horde horg in the homies Zug Zug guild. Obviously the fusion raids are clean, and we open with one night clears as expected of the high caliber guild. However, my horde guild, not so much. It's more of a casual guild full of pumpers, and we didn't actually even clear first week, and we ended up hard stuck Muru. Of course, now we've got it all figured out, but it wasn't with ease. During all these wipes, you start to catch on to literally everything that's going wrong, and as you guys are more than aware of, there are tons of things that can go wrong. To be honest, a video of all the things that can go wrong would be like 5 hours long, so I'll trade you, and I'll give you a big ass list of random tips that I've compiled over the weeks. Of course, it won't be every mechanic and all that, that's what raid guides are for, but this is just the stuff that I feel like could help. Some of it you can find in raid guides, some of it you can't. We'll go from start to finish in the raid, and I won't be putting every mechanic or basic things that you should already know from the raid guides. However, some of these you might also know as well. If so, I made it super easy just to skip past that tip onto the next one by simply clicking the timestamp. Either way, I hope you guys enjoy, and if you have any more tips to add to this, shoot those down in the comments so we can help everybody take down these evil ass bosses and collect their loot. With that being said, I know that there are many Sunwell raid guides out there and it can be confusing to know which ones to watch. Well, that's what I'm here for. The only guides we need for Sunwell is Joardee's boss guides. They cover everything you could possibly need in shorter forms that are so easy to digest while getting all the information that you need for your raid. For those that prefer to have all their videos in one spot, Wow Curios has a video for you that has all 6 bosses in one video. And for those that prefer even shorter guides, Farts Gaming makes phenomenal 30-second guides. These ones are about 30 to 60-second guides for all the Sunwell bosses. I'm sure you guys have already watched all these videos, but just in case, there they are. They were linked above during the explanation as well as in the description. All right, guys, one last thing before we start with the best Sunwell tips. As always, please like this video by hitting the thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel as well, as they both help me grow so much. Plus, hear me out, the more you like this content, the more that I know that you want to see more of this content. You feel me? Also, I stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/CrixVibes, where I stream all my Sunwell raids as well as all my Lich King prep. Okay, let's get it. Tip number 1. These first few tips are going to be less on bosses and more on just kind of like the overall raid stuff, starting with bring extra healers. You guys already know how hard this place hits, both the trash and the bosses. How many times have you seen a pool go super smooth and you think it's a good pool, then all of a sudden everyone else is dead in a blink of an eye? Well, adding a healer won't completely fix that, but it will help you drastically. I know a huge dilemma guilds have is that they simply don't have enough extra healers, which is completely sensible since not everyone prepared with the extra healers. Not everyone is a stacked guild with multiple raid teams, backup healers, or even a bench. If that describes your guild well, then there's only a couple things that you can really do to fix this. The first one is simply to recruit a new healer, but that's not going to help you out much. But then you also got to worry about the DPS you've been rocking with the whole expansion, and then you have to bench him until you get out of Sunwell farm, but you know, whatever. Another option that I suggest and is used by many guilds is just to simply have all your hybrids, or whatever ones you choose, swap to healing. As for which hybrid class, I would first suggest your elemental shaman, usually placed in the warlock group. And as a warlock main, I know my warlock brothers are going to hate me for this, but we don't need to hit from Totem of Wrath. There's a few options for us that make up the spell hit. I personally use a combination of mana, Tomb Band, Loop of Forge Power, and Nether Void Cloak. If you're watching this right now and you're thinking to yourself, how the hell are we going to get healing gear in our Ellies right now? Well, you can have them spam badges and pick up as many pieces of healing gear as you possibly can, as well as spamming old content for gear that nobody really wants. Or even just get the tokens that are pretty cheap from GTKPs or all the other gear nobody really wants from there too. Very cheap. Don't worry about how good the gear is. You don't need to be in best in slot gear to be able to heal. Tip number 2. This is not only coupled with the next tip, but also including all the other hybrid classes. I'm speaking to you, Ellie, Enhanced, Shadow Priest, Ret, Boomy, and whoever else. This is a very simple tip that can literally save you tons of wipes. If you have a blue mana bar, then you should always be ready to heal. All right. Obviously, your raid has its designated healers, and I'm not asking you to heal all the time. All I'm saying is if you're blasting DPS and you're pump dumping and you see some healers falling behind, or a couple people about to go down, or even a couple people down, tanks yelling out for heals and the healers are busy, just toss them a heal or two. You hybrid utility specs literally carry the raids, so don't be afraid to toss some heals up on somebody and save a life. Plus, after you save his life and kill the boss, you get to brag about saving the fucking raid, you know what I mean? Tip number 3. This is one that many of you will probably skip over because you're already doing this. But just in case you're not, I have to say this. One of the biggest tips in not only Sunwell, but all the raids in World of Warcraft is to make sure that you are using the correct talent build for your class, as well as gear, enchants, rotations, and all that good stuff. If you're watching this and you're asking why that matters, well, for some quick examples, people are wiping to missing DPS checks by 100 raid DPS, 50 raid DPS, tanks dying to overkills by 24 damage, 54 damage, 60 damage, which both tanks and healers using proper setups can fix. So please, please, please spend the 10 to 20 minutes to fully learn your class. If you're watching this and you're wondering where to go to find this correct information, well, hey, look no further. After this video, scroll on down to the description and I will have a link to every single class Discord, even the Death Knights, wink, wink. And of course, if you still have troubles, let us know in the comments and I promise you we'll guide you in the right direction. Tip number 4. This tip is to use consumables. I don't mean just a flask, oil, and some food. I'm talking about potions of all sorts. Mana potions, health potions, even rejuve potions, which give you slightly less HP, but give you the same amount of mana as well. Shout out to 2inch for showing me that. Dark runes are massive. Haste potions, rage potions, literally any and all consumables that your spec can use, you should use. Do not be cheap. Farm your gold, swipe your gold, do whatever you gotta do to bring that stuff to raid.
Tip number 5.
This tip is just to be patient. By now, you guys have been grinding Sunwell for a few weeks, and some words might have been said, some attitudes copped, and some people might be getting irritated. It is vital that you guys remain patient and calm with each other. This is how progression should be. I spent over 400 pulls on retail bosses in the past, so trust me, you can hold out. One thing I want to mention is imagine that you're chain wiping for an hour on Muru straight, which I know many of us have. You know what? Fuck that. Let's say you've been chain wiping for 2 hours on Muru straight, which to be fair, still is a lot of us, right? And amongst all the yelling and the call outs and the get the sentinels, humanoids, humanoids, you got one guy that's going, good attempt, guys. We can get it for sure this time. Fucking be that guy, okay? He's vibing. Be him. Don't be everybody's yelling. Be the guy who's trying to lift some spirits up. All right. The next couple tips are for the trash leading up to Kalecgos.
Tip number 6.
This tip is how to deal with the scouts. Yes, for some guilds, they can just blindly run in, nuke the scout with no fucking issue. But then there's many of us chain wiping on these goddamn scouts. A couple things that will tremendously help you with these scouts is to have your rogue distract the scout. Then have everybody inch up nice and slow. Then put a 5 or 10 second timer up and then have your casters tell them to precast their spells so that the spell leaves their hand at exactly 0. Okay? Leave their hands at 0 so all their spells are flying to the scouts at the exact same time. With the exception of you beautiful mages, because you guys are arcane blasting, you kind of don't have a travel time. So, I mean, I don't play a mage, but you got to figure that out yourself. Okay. And also, every class can do something else after that. I can Shadow Bolt, run in with the Shadow Burn. Mages can arcane blast, blink, fire blast. You get it. Just everyone else, largely melee. Make sure you're not too close and body pull the pack though, right? And mage, don't blink in the wrong fucking direction. Like, just this is one of those pulls where you already seen it. The scout messes up, pulls everything in the world. Just be careful. Another side tip to the side tip to the tip is that you can skip these packs by mind soothing and running along this ledge. Now, be careful when you do this because 1, if one person pulls, they're typically going to die and then you guys got to kill the pack anyway. Or 2, this also invalidates your logs. So, yeah, I don't really know why someone would do this, you know what I mean? As well as the teleport after Kalecgos doesn't even come open until after you kill Kalecgos. So if you wipe before or on Kalecgos, you will then have to skip these packs again, which can be annoying. So, like, I guess the big tip here is to not skip these. Just kill them. I don't know. All right, onto the bosses. Like I mentioned earlier, some of these you might know, some of these you might not. Cheers, let's get it. Tip number 7. If you're having troubles on Kalecgos, or even more so, if you're dying to the damage, try to use some arcane resistance. I suggest at least a cloak with the AR enchant. Grab the ring if you want more, and then there's a trinket as well if you want that carry trinket. I would say 3 pieces is a little bit overkill, and just the cloak and ring is more than enough. They're both under 200 gold in the auction house. It can literally save your life. Also, side note, in that, I don't want to wear any arcane res. There's no parses on this fight, right? There's nothing that this fight doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't just kill the boss and go to the next one. Tip number 8. This pull, along with Muru, which we'll talk about later, can be reset before you even pull the boss. What I mean by this is that, as you can see, the raid stands at a distance here. The hunter pulls with an aim shot, and then he feign deaths. This will result in the boss giving you more time for everyone in your raid to get ready to blast that boss when he spawns. As you can see in the clip from my brother Sarthe here. Tip number 9. Next tip is for Kalecgos and a 2-parter. One for the raid lead and one for everyone else. And that is to set up portals correctly. And then for everyone else to know what group you're in. And don't mix that up. If you're doing a 1, 2, 3 group, when they say group 3, don't mix that up with your in-game group and think you're in group 3 and don't run. You know what I mean? Besides ensuring you have a decurse, tank, and a healer downstairs, I would like to actually tell you which group should go first, in my opinion. I would suggest sending down your warlocks. This allows for your warlocks to go down there right away to get all those juicy debuffs up on Sarthe, as well as allowing them to get their CDs and get a solid blast down on Sarthe fast. Side note, warlocks, largely the one in charge of the Curse of Recklessness, put Rec again on the demon before getting ported back upstairs. It can fall off and will fall off while you're up there for a crazy loss and damage to all your melees and your hunters. The next group I suggest to send down is actually your melee group. You can send them first or second really, but I always go warlocks first and then melee second, basically because the melee can get cucked and then get stuck with high arcane buffet stacks, and then a portal comes up later and slaps them all, then all your melee dies. So this allows safety for your giga zugzuggers. Tip number 10. The next tip on Kalecgos is to tank him positioned like this. Bam. This ensures that your raid won't get hit by the tail swipe or the breath. Number 11. Next up is a big tip, which I hope most of you guys are already doing, but I'm going to say it just in case. Number 11, save lusts and cooldowns, all cooldowns for the spectral realm downstairs. Do not pop anything up top. Tip number 12. The next step is a big one, and luckily it's a simple one. Spread out up top. No need to stack up because when the portals spawn, it does AoE damage to everyone who's around the guy who gets ported. And you have the annoying arcane buffet debuff ramping up, and all it takes is a portal with you guys stacked up, and it'll result in all you guys getting fucked. Oh, and a side tip to the tip, when the portal comes up, just know that there's a 1 second cooldown on clicking it. Not only that, but you can only click it for a certain amount of times. So make sure when your group gets ported, stop what you're doing, stop casting, and run to the portal fast. Tip number 13! Watch your threat when you go downstairs to the spectral realm. Sarthe hits very hard, so just let the Kalecgos tank him downstairs for a little to alleviate some of the pressure on your healers. Also, just watch strat and don't do anything stupid. And please remember, when the debuff goes away and you get ported back upstairs, to spread out so you do not get slapped by somebody else's portal. Tip number 14! Speaking of healers, this one's just for you. Make sure you have a healer literally spamming into the tank upstairs at all times due to the dragon breath. And do not hesitate to put a second healer on the tank when its arcane buffet stacks get too high, because the boss will be hitting your tank like Mike Tyson back in the 90s. Get all punches. Also, while down there in the shadow realm, keep massive heals rolling on the tank because he's getting trucked and also stunned. Tip number 15. Tip number 15 is a quick tip for you decursers out there. Wait to decurse until the later end of the dot. This dot ramps up over time. So at first the dot pretty much does no damage at first, so you're really just wasting mana and globals decursing early. I would suggest to wait until about 10 to 15 seconds left on the dot. Also, side tip to this tip, warlocks can and should use Shadow Word during this curse to take some pressure off the healers. Tip number 16. The last tip for Kalecgos, be vocal on both the boss's health, as they both should hit 10% around the same time. Then the dragon gets the 1% health. He will stop casting all of his abilities. This includes the portals. I mean, if you're not careful, you'll end the dragon, but not the demon, and then you'll wipe. So make sure you pay attention to both the boss's health and to call a full DPS stop up top when the dragon is at 20% until Sarthe is also at 20%. I say 20% because it's really easy for people to get carried away at that 15%, and then for you to say hard stop at 12%, but they got dots up, and you know, greedy ass motherfucking DPS, right? So to stop at 20% until Sarthe is at 20%. Then finish them both off. It's very important to make sure, as you guys know, that people are downstairs to finish off the demon, because if there's no portals going out, then nobody else can go back down, and then the demon doesn't die on this wipe. This has happened countless times to raids, including my own, so just watch out for that. Tip number 17. You know this little RP event thing that blows you back when the wall explodes? If you stand here, you won't get blown back. It doesn't matter too much, really, but one time a guildie got blown literally on the other side of Brutallus, and it was kind of funny. Tip number 18. This is the first tip for Brutallus. The burn is a ramping dot like the curse from the previous boss. Not only that, but it's also like a 2-yard range or some shit, so you kind of need to go out of your way to pass it to another person. Either way, don't panic. When you get it, just be patient. Wait for a clear path to your burn spot. Don't be afraid to open your mic up and politely ask your guildies to move the fuck out of the way if you don't have room. Get to your burn spot and start pumping while doing whatever the fuck your class can do to survive to the end of the dot. Which, by the way, is doing about 3,200 a tick at the end. Okay? In the example of a Warlock, I use Death Coil for some health, the Hellstone or Nightmare Seed, and I'll even drain life at the end if I notice there's a lot of raid damage going out, or if our healers are hurting on mana. I'm not going to say this is another separate tip, but healers, you just heard what I said, and you should probably already know this, but the burn, you know, save your big heals for the end of the burn, right? Tip number 19. Number 19 is for Alliance only. The good old bag of marbles from the Kobold Quest and Elwyn Forest works on mini bosses, including this one. It decreases the target's chance to hit by a huge 25% for 10 seconds. Obviously, you may have done this quest already, but you'd be surprised at how many people haven't. Get some and get a rotation on them so they don't overlap, and you guys will have such an easier time with Brutallus. Tip number 20. Number 20 is a little Warlock tip. Life tapping on this fight can be very dangerous, as you know, with the meteor strikes, right? So what I like to do is whenever the boss is facing the opposite tank, I tap the full. This ensures you get your mana before he comes back the other way and hits you with that strike. Tip number 21. Tanks, be very vocal here. Call out your taunts ahead of time, swapping at 3 strikes, call out for your shields, etc. This may sound strange, but don't depend on everybody else on this fight, okay? You need to take control and call for what you need and taunts.
I'm eating a full stomp in about 5 seconds.
Very fire.
Stomp, it's a stomp coming now on B Baron.
Taunting in 3. Taunting again.
It's on D-Tang.
Soga, don't bubble. Okay.
This allows healers to easily hear vocally what is happening on Discord, so they can hot you up and prepare for the swap as well. Remember, healers have their hands full with so many people. You got Zug DPS not paying attention to burns, healers trying to keep themselves and everybody else alive, dealing with meteor strikes and the stomp, okay? So you being vocal, it would probably help them hear, you know, oh shit, they're taunting. Let me go ahead and make sure I got a power word shield on him or something, you know what I mean? So it just kind of helps ensure that you guys kill this boss. Tip number 22. Tanks can and should run double mitigation trinkets if you are still getting clapped out by the stomp. Also, you guys can bop or use train damage to soak a little bit if you're in danger. Just have to be very fast. Tip number 23. On to Felmyst. You should know this by now, but I'll say it. Make sure your groups are stacked tight and in range of the master spells before you pull. Also, adjust as you need per fight. Imagine where you 4 groups are, and if the boss is shifted over 3 feet, guess what? You 4 groups shift over 3 feet, and that goes for all the other groups, okay? Now, be careful though, because Felmyst, when she's flying above you and you do an AoE like a Rain of Fire or like, you know, Master Spell, it can actually pull the boss. Tip number 24. Tanks, make sure to tank the boss facing away from the raid so she won't cleave anybody. Also melee, for the love of God, pay attention and do not step in front and get cleaved. Tip 25. Tip number 25, like Kalecgos, you can wear some arcane resistance to help this fight. I suggest cloak or ring if needed. It is not needed to do this though. I think more people are not wearing it than wearing it. I'm not sure about that though. Tip 26. The next tip is about encapsulate, because let's be real, that's the main part of the fight. You guys obviously know what this is, but maybe this can help deal with it a little bit. The first tip inside of the tip is the boss will move and face where she's encapping. Literally, other than that movement, she never even budges. She will stare facing the tank the whole time, right? And then when you see an incap about to come up, she just barely starts to move at all in your direction. You move. If you see her moving anyway, if I'm in the back corner and I see her even moving towards the melee group on my side, I'm still going to move just in case. You know what I mean? Also, because you have to be careful, because if your group is too close to another group, you can actually get hit by the other next door neighbor's encapsulate. Tip 27. Tip number 27 is an alternative tip to the last one. Import this weak aura. Look at it. It yells at you when you get incapped or when whoever gets incapped. If someone in your group gets incapped, run away. You know what I mean? Also, one more thing. If you get incapped, you can still use your Hellstone. I've seen many people not use one because I think they think they're stunned or whatever, but you can use Hellstones and seeds and stuff, so you should. Somebody call for a tip 28. The last few tips are in regards to the air phase. The first one is that all range should be spamming into the boss while she's in the air as much as they can, while of course watching for their beam, the shit that leaves on the ground, and the skeletons that come out of the shit that the beam left on the ground, right? This is so much free extra damage, it's insane. So make sure you casters are pump dumping, okay? What about a tip 29? Next is a threat from both you healers and you DPS. The threat on these ads that come from the beams are shit because they're everywhere at first, right? They're not all coming out of one spot. They're coming out of this spread out wherever that beam was, right? DPS must wait until they get rounded up while making sure not to step in the poison the beam leaves on the ground, and you healers absolutely have to pay attention to healing aggro here. You have to heal but also do whatever you can to distance yourself from the skellies that will be spawning from the beam. Or if I can't, I'll just YOLO it and run into the conch with the aggro, you know? Bro, I know you asked for tip 30. Tip number 30, this tip is for you AoE DPS. Don't be greedy with the ads in the air phase. Your priority during this phase is not get hit by the beam and to stay out of the shit that leaves on the ground, as it does damage and the ad spawn out of it. Focus on surviving the beam and the breaths while passively killing ads. These do not need to die right away, and I've seen too many warlocks and mages hard focusing the skellies, then get smacked in the face with the breath. No? Did you ask for tip 31? If you or someone in your raid is having troubles making the breath on time for some reason and you keep getting mind controlled, then simply have that person follow the leader. No, really, I mean literally right click his frame and follow him. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Tip 32? A simple tip to dealing with the breath. Only have one trusted person calling out the breaths and where to run. Try and get everyone rounded up to the middle before she breathes so it's easy for your raid to get to the safe zone. Then after she breathes, have your raid all stacked back in the middle on the edge of that poison. Then when it clears, everyone go in the mid and then call the direction, etc. Here's a clip of how I call it out. And yes, it's annoying, but guess what? I'm annoying and it works. Going towards the mid, guys. We're hanging out, 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 we're hanging out middle. We're going north again. North again. We're gonna hang out towards the mid. When the poison goes away, jump right into mid and hang out. We're vibing, we're vibing, we're going north again. We're staying north, we're staying north, we're staying north. Tip 33. The last tip is for you warlocks. Since you were pumping while she was in the air, the tank was not gaining threat, meaning your threat is more likely very high. Save your soul shatter for after the air phase and you'll no longer have this issue. Just make sure she's in range though, like 50 yards. Tip 34. First tip for twins is to use a prop paladin to tank the Grand Warlock. It's easier and frees up a warlock to pump the boss down. The only reason I would suggest using a warlock tank is if you're short on healers and you need that paladin to heal. If you do end up using a warlock, it's better that you have your affliction warlock tank because Destro does more damage, so you want him pumping the main boss. Tip 35. PvP trinkets help tremendously as it removes the stun and the damage. All you have to do is run out, and as soon as the stun damage goes out, you pop the trinket and run back to the ledge. This helps drastically because it allows your DPS to get back on the boss much faster. Thus, the boss dies faster, and it's way less healing. This is highly suggested if you're short on heals, as it literally frees up so much healing because conflags do a shit ton of damage. Tip 36. Lust your healers phase 1. This is very important as phase 1 is some of the most intensive healing in all of Classic. Lust your healers and ensure a safe phase 1. Any extra lust, blow them up top on the DPS phase 1 as well. You want to get out of this phase as soon as possible. Tip 37. Tip number 37 is less of a tip and more of a don't do it. Do not hit the second boss. The Grand Warlock will just heal back up. It's literal worthless pad and all your damage should be on the main boss. The only person who should have any damage on the second boss should be the Shadow Priest due to mana return. Sorry, Affliction Warlocks, but the global spent on Corruption Nightfalling isn't worth it over the Bolt cast, so just keep on spamming. Tip 38. The last couple tips are related to Conflag. Run out with it. Simple enough. When you see DBM or whatever the fuck weak core you have to yell at you about Conflag, immediately stop what you're doing and run out. A very nice weak core that looks like this will be linked in the description below. When it pops, you run out. Okay? You must have Grand Warlock's focus targeted so you can tell that it's getting casted on you. If you don't know how to do that, just target her before the fight starts and type in /focus. It'd be smart to make a macro since focus targets can come in handy, but that's another topic. Side tip to this tip, you know Gnomish Cloaking Device, the trinket, the engineering trinket? You can use this on the boss and it acts like a vanish. Just be fast when she's casting it and you won't even need to run out. Oh, hey guys, I had to pause it really quick. Why? I'm about to post this in literally like 30 minutes and I paused it just to say, can you guys please like this video for me? Yeah, please just like it really fast. Like it and then follow. Yeah, please. Please. Tip 39. You have two ways to pull this and which one you choose is completely up to your raid leader. You can do the hunter reset thing like Kalecgos. You're going to see the hunter shoot usually with an aim shot, and as the aim shot's in the air, he's going to feign death, which will reset Muru. Then we all can run in, right? Now we all run in and stack where we normally would stack. Do not worry if this door closes because the door will open back up before right when he spawns. You can run back in. Do not worry about it. Then just get in your positions like this, and then you wait patiently for the boss to go out. When the boss comes out, you guys are able to pump. This allows you guys all your melee to already be under here stacked. There's other ways to do this. Some people say it's better to have the range cast, and some people say it's better to have melee stack. That's going to depend on your raid. If you guys have a ton of casters pre-casting, or if you guys have a bunch of melee doing this, that one's up to you guys. Boom, and now we're able to pump. Or a rogue can distract the boss on pool. This will turn Muru around, and then you guys have his back to you the whole fight. I didn't know about this until I saw Simonize's fantastic Sunwell guides for rogues, which I'll link above right now. And this is also his clip in the back. Anyways, this allows your melee to not only ever get parried, but more importantly, also way less running time from the ads to all the way back to the behind Muru where it normally would be. So like I said, which one you do is up to you, or well, more up to your raid leader. Tip 40! The next tip is a longer one for dealing with Void Sentinels because they can really become an issue fast if not dealt with properly. The portals show up before the Sentinels, so have the designated tank already sitting there by the portal waiting for it to pop out of the portal. This allows you to pick up the mobs ASAP and can help limit the damage from the Sentinels running around. After it blows up, hard focus AoE on the spawns. Don't sleep on them because they can also turn things south real fast. Have a Warlock put up Curse of Weakness on the Void Sentinel the second it spams. If you're still progressing Muru, I'd even go so far as to say to have your Affliction Warlock put 2 points into approved Curse of Weakness and ensures he puts the Corruption up on the Sentinel because that will also apply Shadow Embrace, which is a 5% physical damage reduction. Anything helps if you're progressing, right? Okay, so when I recorded it earlier, I forgot to say tip 41 through 55, so that's what I'm doing now, tip 41. Have an Enhancement Shaman keep grounding totem down for the tank that is tanking the Void Sentinels. Their Void Blast hits for about 10k, and a grounding totem will eat it, essentially saving his life. Tip 42. Keeping it on the topic of Warlocks. You guys kind of carry this fight, and there are many things you can do to make this fight way better for your guild. The most important one that you already know is enslaving one of the Void spawns, right? So I won't go into that, but I will show you a few macros that I feel like should be mandatory for all Warlocks. It looks like this. This one will simply mark a Void spawn with the target marker, and then you'll enslave it, right? For example, I target a spawn, I press this macro once, it puts the star of the spawn, and then all the other locks know it's mine, and then it makes it so I can enslave it without any of us overriding each other's enslave. Just have each Warlock change that number and it'll put a different marker up. The next macro is even more important than the last one. Both of these macros should be made and replace your current Shadow Bolt and Seed of Corruption keybinds. These will ensure that your newly enslaved demon will be spamming his Shadow Bolt volley the entire time. Very important that Warlocks do this because the spawns do not spam their volleys even if it is on autocast. They space it out and it's very inconsistent, resulting in a massive amount of damage lost. Warcraft logs has changed and it now includes Void spawns damage, so it's even more important to get this right. I regret doing these tips because I'm tired of saying tips. Tip 43. This tip also involves the Void spawns, but it's a much simpler one. Make sure you have something there to trap when the Void spawns spawn. There's many ways to do this. The easiest way, in my opinion, is just to have a mage there ready to Frost Nova them down. Or you can also have a mage run Imp Blizzard and Blizzard them the whole time, which is another very efficient way. Or even just toss a Frost Grenade out on them. Literally anything just to free up a little bit of time. Tip 44. Healers. A lot like phase 2 of Felmyst with all our ads, you will have a ton of healing aggro again. You have to heal, but also do whatever you can to distance yourself from where the Humanoids will be spawning from, the entrance and the exit. I personally like to keep Prop Paladin or his concentrate between myself and the fresh respawn ads, or if I can't, or if I have aggro, I just run and scream for bop and hope for the best. You know how it is. Tip 45. Getting a clean transition is major to the kill. You must push Muru to 0%, but also make sure you kill the ads quick enough so that when you push Muru to transition, you do not get a new wave of ads and another Void Sentinel. Make sure to call a hard stop or go on Muru to get your transition time perfected. Tip 46. In phase 2, you have 5 or so seconds before Entropius is attackable. Use this time to pre-spread out and literally just stare at the floor and look for a black hole under your feet. If you see one, move away from it. Okay? And then the Dark Fiend will spawn, right? Look at that Dark Fiend and fucking move away from it. Go, hey, I don't want none of this, right? And then the Shadow Priest or whoever's in charge of dispelling them, dispel them. Yo, big shout out to the Shadow Priest throughout this whole fight. I'm not gonna give you your own tip. Just know that you're OG, you're a pimp, you're a player, you're carrying the raid. Do your job, do it great, bro. Stare at that big darkness in phase 1 and look for those massive spells. You're beautiful. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, okay? Tip 47. First tip on the last boss, Kil'Jaedan. Set up and use an Arcane Bomb rotation on phase 1. This will ensure these ads don't cast those nasty Shadow Bolt volleys. Also, drag the mobs away from the Imp portals that spawn so your melee doesn't get smacked by the Imp portals. Tip 48. First tip is for the casters who should be hard focusing the shield orbs. Make a macro like this, but put it in whatever you cast if you're not a warlock. Now, all you have to do is spam your bolts into KJ, right? And whenever a shield orb pops up, the game will automatically target the orb. You don't even need to target it or nothing, okay? You don't even need to think about it. Of course, you need to target KJ again, because like shield orb can like, you know, say you guys don't kill it in time and it goes all the way to the other side by the hunters or wherever, or vice versa, and you can't reach it, you'll still be targeting it. So you do have to either make a macro for KJ and your attack, or just target him like I do, or tab or whatever. Either way, it's the best way to nuke these orbs, so just do it. And to further this tip, casters, you really need to focus these orbs throughout the whole fight. I know this is a pretty hectic fight with all the movement and the shit going on, the orbs and whatnot, but please just make sure you guys are always on the hunt for those orbs. That's running into the darkness. You can get a couple casts off on orbs, run back, jump, and use some instant casts while you're getting to and from your spots. Any kind of damage, because these do a lot of damage. Side note to this, warlocks use Shadow Word constantly throughout this fight to help with the damage. Tip 49. At 85%, all melee stop cleaving because the reflections will come out, okay? And while we're talking about reflections, nobody touch them until the tank picks them up. They will not move. They spawn, but they don't move until anybody touches them, right? Drag them to the boss, and then you AoE them down. If they spawn in a caster that won't move, then just have your casters nuke them down where they stand once the tank, of course, establishes aggro. Tip 50. During reflections, the boss will only be casting Shadow Spike, okay? Keep your camera on the boss and watch out for those. If you see one coming towards you, do this thing called move. Yeah, that's it. Then move back to your spot. There's really 54 tips, but 50 sounds better than 54. So please, for the love of God, if you have Fire Bloom, get the fuck away from your friends, okay? Also, if you notice Jim next to you gets it and he's hitting you with his Fire Bloom and he's not moving, then you move, you know what I mean? Don't just wait and take extra damage. Tip 52. Lust does not stack with a dragon haste buff, meaning you should never lust your melee while they have a breath later in the fight. Instead, lust the melee in the beginning. Tip 53. Move out of the hellfire that you see on the ground. I know it's easy to tunnel vision hard on this fight, but you have to keep an eye out. Or in this example, keep your eyes down, of course, and look for the hellfire so you don't get hit by it and then the meteor that follows closely behind it above your head. Tip 54.
Listen to your raid leader. If he says do something, do it. If it doesn't make sense to you and he fucks up, then you do it anyway, fuck it up, and then blame him for it. Okay? They're raid leaders for a reason. Thank you.
More importantly, and specifically on Kil'Jaedan, the darkness calls are super important. Listen to your raid leader on those. If you have a flame dart and you're moving all slow, then start moving in ahead of time. If you have a fire bloom, then be the last person to go into the shield. But also to you guys without fire bloom during your run-ins, make sure you guys run in earlier. Remember being that guy with the fire bloom thinking in your head, hey, scoot the fuck up, right? So you guys do that. You guys, it's a team game. Teamwork makes the dream work, boys. Help them out. Remember, we're waiting for you to get in before we can go into the shield. And we don't want to get stuck out here, otherwise we're dead. So don't hesitate, stop casting, and run in. I lied, I got one more tip. It's a huge one. It's the biggest tip that you could have out of this whole video, okay? Come on, man, that's the like and follow this video because we're done. Good job, we did it. I really hope this video helps somebody out there. It would be impossible to list everything, but I hope, it wouldn't be impossible because it would just be a long video, but I don't got the patience for that shit. I got shit to do, okay? Lich King is around the corner. I am knocking. I am already in it deep. I am balls deep inside the Lich King content, and I can't wait to show you guys it all, okay? Ah! If you have some tips you want to add, please leave a comment below and tell us. Sharing is caring. Teamwork makes the dream work. And at the end of the day, all we want to do is kill some bosses, okay? Much love, and I'm looking forward to the future that is Wrath of the Lich King. I've been on private servers for a while now, getting ready for Wrath and all the guides, and I think you guys will like them way more than TBC. Anyways, I'm out. Much love, and please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow more than you think. Come check out the stream over at twitch.tv/CrixVibes, where I stream all the time and all my prep. And I'll see you around, homies. Peace.